Now you are. There you go. Hey guys. Hello, 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 and happy Friday, everyone. It's me, your Councilwoman Tameika Isaac Devine, and I'm excited to do. Okay, so I will. I'm actually getting a list saying I can't do live on LinkedIn. Okay, so I'm going to not do live on LinkedIn. I'm just going to do live on Facebook. If LinkedIn it says I wasn't approved to do live on LinkedIn and told me I need to click something else, so I'll reset. I'll send it on LinkedIn later. But anyway, so instead, let me do this. I am going to add it on my personal page as well. And I see we've got some folks on. Come on in and hello, y'all. Say hi. But anyway, hey guys, it's me, your Councilwoman Tameika Isaac Devine. And last Friday, I did a Facebook Live about the census. And I got a lot of great feedback from people who actually watched it live and some people who were did the replay, along the lines of all of us being quarantined. I've tried to do some I've tried to say hi and come online and provide some information. And I've got so many people who said, this has been good. We want some more information. So I decided while we were still all staying home to start what I call community conversations with Councilwoman Tameika Isaac Devine. And so although I did a couple conversations before, this is officially community conversation with Councilwoman Devine. And I'm excited to have as our first person giving us some information for our conversation is Melissa Lindler, who is the director of the Office of Business Opportunities for the City of Columbia. Melissa is an amazing, amazing person. I met Melissa, oh gosh, I'm gonna date us, but probably over 10, maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a
while. Before Melissa
still look the same.
Exactly. You look younger.
I would.
Before Melissa came to work with the City of Columbia, she worked for Congressman Jim Clyburn, our majority whip, who everyone here in South Carolina knows how amazing he is. But if they didn't know before, they know now. Nationally, everyone knows how amazing he is because of just his way of making sure that he is always leading on issues that are really, really important. And so I know working for him for many, many years, you not only got the information and knowledge to implement things to make things happen, but I know you couldn't work in that office and not have the passion for helping people be successful. And so as your role as director of the Office of Business Opportunities, there is no other person who could do as much for small businesses here in the City of Columbia as you. So I'm excited to have you here, and thank you for agreeing to be my first guest.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And it takes leadership though, and I whatever we do here at the city, it's because of our city council, and it's because of our mayor, and it's because of our city manager. The foresight, the visionaries that they are, has allowed us to be in a position where we could handle this crisis in a way that a lot of cities are not able to handle it. We're ready to go. As soon as this happened, we start thinking about how can we support our small businesses. And I'm glad we did. And it put us in a position to help a lot of our businesses stay open.
Well, we appreciate you and the work that you're doing, because what a lot of people might not also recognize, and we talk a lot about this, of who are essential businesses. During this time, we're all encouraged to stay home because of this virus and this disease and how contagious it is. But there are a lot of folks who cannot stay home because of the types of jobs that they have, and particularly you and your team, because we need to be on the front lines to help our small businesses through this time. You have one of those essential business positions, and you have been working nonstop. So I personally thank you for the lack of sleep and the amount of dedication you've had to making sure that our small businesses have access to these resources that we'll talk about in a few minutes, but also that you have been able to be there to answer any questions. So before we get started exactly on the resources, I wanted you to just start off by talking about what is the Office of Business Opportunities. I think sometimes those of us who work with you and work in this arena take for granted that people know that the city actually has an Office of Business Opportunities. And as I was talking about it and sharing that resource with people, people are like, well, what is that? And it's funny because then also I have a lot of folks who don't live in the city or don't have their business in the city. It's in the county or somewhere else. And so, and me, myself, as a small business owner in the city, but because I'm a city council person, I can't afford myself of the resources that you guys give as the Office of Business Opportunities because of potential conflicts of interest. And so, as sorry guys, y'all know I'm working from home, so I got kids.
That's okay. That's okay.
But there are other, I think sometimes people take for granted when I try and look at, the county or the state and other resources, and we'll talk about those too. There are some great resources in other areas as well, but I haven't found anybody as robust as us here at the city and having an Office of Business Opportunities. So can you briefly kind of tell everybody what is the Office of Business Opportunities, and particularly what are your departments and what do you do for small businesses even before this virus and this pandemic happened?
Sure, we do a lot, Tameika. As you know, Councilwoman Devine, we offer training and technical assistance throughout the year, usually in large gatherings. We have 3 large events that we do every year. This year, unfortunately, because of the circumstances, we're not going to be able to do them, but we're going to look at some alternate virtual opportunities that we may have to stream some trainings and events in the coming future, probably in the next couple of months. We do our Small Business Week conference every year. We do a Minority Business Opportunity Conference, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But we also do an Access to Capital event. So those are our 3 signature events that we do every year. But in between those events, we do other small workshops in finance, budgeting, developing your legal structure. What I'm finding is that a lot of our businesses with this opportunity that we have out there now, the loans that we have, the stabilization loan, a lot of our businesses don't understand what a legal structure is. A lot of people don't understand their financial documents when we're asking for you to produce your P&L statement or your profit and loss statement. We're asking you for certain information. Well, what is that? So there's some other trainings that we're going to be doing a lot more of over the next couple of months to help
What
our
do you
businesses
do?
really prepare. But those are some things that we do anyway. And I certainly would hope that you all will reach out to our office. If you're not part of our network, please make sure that you do. The Office of Small Business Opportunity, the Office of Business Opportunities, what we're here for is to help our small businesses, provide them with support, provide them with the resources that they need to be successful here in Columbia. We do that through training and technical assistance. We also have commercial revolving loan funds that we administer. Before the small business stabilization loan that we're going to talk about later this afternoon, we also have commercial revolving loan funds. And those funds range from anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000. Some require bank participation, but a lot of them don't. There's some that we actually are the primary lenders for. So, which is really, really great. And that was before this. So we're here. Another thing that we do our our commercial retention and redevelopment program, formerly our facade program. And that's a very, very popular program where we actually provide forgivable loans for both exterior and interior improvements to buildings owned by business owners. So that's something that's very popular. That's something that we're about to kick off to make even larger before all of this happened. But those are some of the things that we do. One thing that we also do that I want to just talk about some that because it's so important, and that is that our procurement process reflects our community that we represent. So we have a number of opportunities for our supplier diversity piece, making sure our minority vendors are part of this process. We have a 15% citywide goal to make sure that all of our departments are utilizing minority vendors when it comes to different day-to-day procurements, supplies, pens, marketing, developing different resources, contracting opportunities here at the city. So if you're a supplier, you're a vendor in a certain area or in a certain industry, and you want to do work with the city, those are some things that we actually want to encourage you to do. We want our city to reflect the community that we represent. So make sure that you're part of our vendor base. Make sure that you look and overlook at different departments and see what they do while you're home right now, trying to figure out how to pivot at this moment, how do you adjust to this new normal that we're experiencing. Look at those different opportunities that you may not have thought about, that maybe working with municipalities such as the city of Columbia may afford you during this time.
That is great. So let me ask you this, because of course there was a lot of chatter, particularly over the last couple days, when it was known that the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, ran out of money. I am one business who has applied and gotten my money. I mean, got my application in, but not gotten any money.
Okay.
But my lender tells me, don't worry. He's very hopeful that Congress will put some more money in it.
Good.
And, those of us who have our applications in will be looked at. But,
Good.
I just put just a poll on my Facebook page just to see, hey, who got money in? Because I know lots of people, when it opened 2 weeks ago today, it was on a Friday morning when it opened. I know lots of small business owners who went that day and applied for or put in their application, or at least tried to. I think part of the problem also was because the banks just got the requirements like late Thursday evening, and depending on who your bank was, some banks had their process up and ready to go Friday morning. Some didn't get applications ready and out to their folks Friday afternoon. I know somebody who their bank sent them an automated email on Saturday with the application. So I know that there was some lag time there, but I put on my Facebook page just to find out who applied and didn't get any money. And I had one person basically respond that they knew someone, that they personally didn't get any money, but they knew someone who had gotten their application and gotten their money. But every single small business owner who answered mine said they did not. But there was a lot of chatter because there are businesses like McDonald's and Ruth Chris and others that did get their money. And those
Hello?
my connection. Okay. My connection went out for a second,
Yes.
but we'll
Okay.
see. How does the city of Columbia define small business, and is that definition any different from what the SBA or anybody else defines a small business? And if it isn't, how do these businesses that people consider pretty big corporations, how do they get considered as a small business, as opposed to some of us, 1 and 2 owner companies that we feel like, we really are the ones in need of assistance at this time?
Yeah. Tameika, so SBA actually defines a small business as any business with 500 or less employees, which we consider large, right? We define small businesses as those businesses with 50 employees or less. That's how we define a small business here at the City of Columbia. For this last application that we did, the small business stabilization loan, we actually defined a business, or we gave more priority to those businesses with 50% or 50 or less employees, but those with 5 or less employees also. When we did our survey a couple of weeks ago when this first happened, what we found was that the most of our businesses that responded were those businesses with 5 or less employees that demonstrated a real need. So with this last round of funding that we're probably at the end of actually implementing now, we tried to prioritize those applications as much as we could as they were coming in, because that's where we saw the greatest need. Now, when it comes to SBA and the funding that was put out there for PPP, as well as for the economic injury disaster loan program that they actually administered first. So the money with PPP ran out very, very quickly, yes, because you did have those companies with 500 or less employees that most of us would say, well, they really probably don't need the money as much as I do, right? Those businesses have The PPP loans were really based on those existing relationships at your individual banking institutions, which meant that those companies that already had great working relationships with their banks, they may already be a loan recipient from those banks. The network was in place for them to readily go to those banks and put their applications in quickly to get the process started early. Again, it was just those that had those relationships. They were able to go and actually take advantage of these opportunities quicker. The banks were probably more willing to lend to those entities because they have those relationships. They know what their assets are, they know what type of revenue they do generate when they are open. So they were more willing to lend to those types of businesses, the 500 or more employees, or 500 or less employees, the Ruth Chris, the Holiday Inn. So they know the type of revenue that they do generate when things are normal. And they know that once this is over, they're going to be back in that same position to generate the same type of revenue. So even if these are SBA backed loans, which they are at 100%, the PPP ones, the payroll protection program, they don't want to be in a situation where they have a default on a loan. So they're going to be more willing to work with those individuals, those businesses that they know can actually pay the money back. Even if they're going to be forgiven, they don't want to have any defaults on their books either. So they're not going to take on one new customers for this program. They're probably not going to take on those customers that may be at a higher risk a default on this program, even if the money is going to be covered by SBA, 100% backed by SBA. They still want these to be good loans that they're making. So that's why there probably have been more of these banks have lent to those existing relationships that they have, those existing businesses that they know are lucrative when they are open, and they're able to pay that money back regardless. They don't care. I mean, it's good that SBA is backing the loan, but they still want to make good loans. So it leaves this gap of people or gap of businesses that are not able to actually, as we see, we're not able to actually access those dollars. And those that are in the pipeline are probably ones that you still have a good relationship with the bank, or are establishing a relationship with the bank, but because it's taking you a little more time to get that paperwork in, because the bank may not know some of those applicants, or they just don't have the capacity, or they've exceeded the money that they have allocated to this program, and there's just no more money left.
Wow. And so you bring up a couple really good points on that. Number one is and I want to remind everybody from the city's perspective, because it's city, local government, your city council and mayor, and with the guidance of staff, actually define some of the parameters. So we had an ability to prioritize and make it a little bit different. So our small businesses, our definition is a little are different. So it really probably fits more what people believe is a small business. But under the SBA definition, even some of these businesses that you believe are huge businesses, they are considered small businesses. And because they are probably more established, they have those existing relationships with banks,
Correct.
which I think is really critical, and also goes to the point of your office and what you do in normal times. Is helping people with things like establishing banking relationships and other things, because it is critical if you're going to be a business owner to be able to have those relationships, so that when things like this happen, you have that banker that you can call who can help push your application or something like that, which is really important. So let's talk a little bit about our program. I know right before we went live, you shared with me kind of where we are currently on numbers, which again, I can't thank you enough, you and your staff, for making sure that y'all are pushing these through. But tell us about the Small Business Stabilization Loan Program, and then also there are a couple components that you are administering right now. You've got that, and then there's also a nonprofit piece, that there are nonprofits that are eligible for assistance. So can you just briefly explain those and the criteria?
Okay, now the nonprofit stabilization grant is not being housed in this office. It's
Okay.
actually in our budget office, but it is out there, and there is a link online, and we have a link on our website, on our landing page, City of Columbia, www.city, I'm sorry, Columbia
Columbia SC.
.gov/OBO. So if you go to that page, you'll actually see a link to a number of different resources, one being the one um, for our nonprofit stabilization grant that's out there that was just released last week. With our program, the Small Business Stabilization Forgivable Loan Program, it's a program that was established by our council, and currently is at $1 million that they actually designated to go to our small business community to serve as a bridge between now and when other federal and private dollars have come in and been identified to help these businesses sustain through this crisis, COVID-19 crisis. These funds, again, they're serving as a bridge. So it's not trying to help you sustain your business for 6 months or throughout the duration of this crisis, but it's something to just bridge this time between when it started and before and until other resources come in to help you with your business. We're doing our loans, although our guidelines stated that we'll do loans for up to 10,000. Because we have such a great need, these loans are only going to go up to $8,000. So it's from $1,000 to $8,000, and the amounts vary based on the need, based on how your rent area, the cost of rent in your area versus the cost of rent in another area. So we're looking at a number of different things. We're trying to make sure that these businesses stay open, that they're sustained, that you can pay rent, you can pay your utility bills, and you're not going to be put out, right? You have shelter for your business, and other resources have been identified to help you get through this process or get through this crisis. We have received to date about 205 applications. We have about maybe $29,000 left. We are going to do a full report to council on Tuesday. Hopefully, we would have actually distributed all the funds by then. We have notified all 205 applicants, and we've told them what to do as far as getting in their paperwork, their loan award documentation signed. We used an online process because that was the easiest way to get this money out there quickly, but also to get responses in quickly. We use Zoom grants. What we're learning though through this process, even though we've been able to help a lot of people because we're not putting a lot of restrictions on how the funding's being utilized, but what we're saying is that we're going to forgive this loan. We will forgive this loan if you do what you said you're going to do in your application, and if you spend the money in accordance with the budget that you actually presented to us. If you do that, we're not going to ask that you have to pay the money back. You also have to, of course, stay in good graces and with our business licensing, and also your business needs to stay in good graces also with other different regulations and rules as well. But what we'll do is forgive the first half of that loan in year one, and then the second half of that loan will be forgiven in year two, which means if you do everything you said you're going to do, then you do not have to pay the money back. And it's amazing, Tameika, that a lot of people are just so surprised. The city's just going to give us money. No, we're not giving you money. What we're doing is reinvesting in you as a business owner because of what you bring to our community and how much you've given to our community as a business. And people don't realize how important our businesses are. Well, most of the businesses that actually responded to our survey, most of the businesses that actually have submitted to this program have been businesses that have been in business for at least 10 years or more, which means that they've been a part of our community, of our families, a part of what makes Columbia what it is for a very, very long time. And we want to make sure that you're in business after this crisis is over so that you're still there as a permanent part of our community. I'm sorry about the ring. I'm very
You're good.
apologize. But it's very important. These programs are great. We've had a number of messages that come in thanking us for being able to do this for them right now, because a lot of them would not be able to actually maintain home, what they're doing at home, and also try to maintain their business because the money's not coming in, the revenue's not coming in. And unfortunately, some of these business owners, their business is all that they have. Their families depend on their business for their food, for shelter at home, for a lot of different things. So we're able to provide an immediate need, and that's exactly what the money was designated for, to provide immediate relief to those business owners during this crisis, and to other resources come in. So we're happy about it. Hopefully, people start getting checks last week. Checks are coming out as fast as finance can get the information in and cut it. I don't have checks, so people are sending me emails about where's my check. I don't cut the checks, but finance is cutting those checks, making sure they're getting out there. And one thing else I want to say is not just OBO that's doing this. This has really been, across departments. Economic development has been part of this process. Finance has been part of this process. Business licensing has been part of this process. We're all working overtime at night. Many people are working from home. My staff, actually, I don't want them coming in. So I've been the one coming in here and trying to do things day to day to keep things going. We don't want to expose anyone. But I must say that this has not just been OBO. We're doing it also, but we're all part of this team. And I've worked in a lot of places, but I've never been in a situation where everyone understands the urgency of what's facing us right now. And not only what's facing us, but what our business communities are dealing with, where everyone's just, coming together, working collectively, collaboratively to make sure this money gets out there because we understand how much is needed.
That's so good. So Cynthia asked a question about will there be a second round of loans? So Cynthia, we knew there would be a great need, and as Melissa said, there was $1 million dedicated for this. Out of that million, Melissa mentions there's approximately 29,000 left. So as you can tell, we have almost expended $1 million with this assistance to small businesses. We know that there's a great need. The city, we will continue to look at ways to do other things. So if we are able to fund a second round, I'm sure Melissa and her staff would be happy to have a second round and do it. One thing that I will say is that if there are folks who have our city businesses and they've applied, but they haven't gotten their stuff completed yet, and we're at the end and they may not be able to get in this first round, but you do feel like there's a need, contact us, contact your members of city council, and let them know that there's more need there. We know there's a huge need. Melissa mentioned she did a survey, and that survey informed a lot of the provisions that we had. One of which was the fact that she mentioned prioritizing the loans. And that was huge for us because we wanted to get as much money on the streets quickly so that it would help sustain businesses. Even though SBA wants to do it quickly, as we've talked about before, some businesses haven't gotten their money yet. There's some businesses are still in that process. But like today's payday for a lot of us small business people. And so if you haven't been working, if you haven't been bringing in clients and income, then payday today hurts. And so we wanted to be able to be that bridge. And so we know that if there are additional funds, we are seeking other funds through philanthropic places. We're hoping, and we'll shift to that maybe in a little bit, maybe in 2 or 3 topics, we'll shift to talk about the federal process a little bit because Melissa has some experience with that as well. Mm-hmm. But there is some talk about a 4th stimulus package where if there is some money that comes directly to cities and towns, there hopefully we'll be able to fund some additional programs. So just stay tuned. But right now, that's kind of where we are. Which let me ask this, Melissa, because I get this question, of course, as a small business owner myself that I mentioned, although my business is in the city because I'm a member of city council, I cannot.
It just froze on me. Uh-oh. Tameika? Tameika? Hello? Hopefully she'll be right back with us.
All right, Melissa, you there? Melissa, I'm sorry.
Are you there? Okay.
Okay. I'm sorry,
It's okay.
guys. Thank y'all for
It's
hanging in. We
okay.
still have 15 people watching live.
How many?
I posted in my neighborhood box last night. I said, "Is it me or is anybody having problem with Spectrum on their internet?" And I mean, the floodgates open. Everybody was like, "Yeah, mine's been going out since Monday and whatever." So I guess because there's so many of us working from home, we have had very spotty internet connection with Spectrum, which is unfortunate. Which is funny because I told my husband I'm going to need to get one of those boosters that people get for their Wi-Fi. So stay tuned for a blog on that because I'm going to do a blog on my creating my home office.
Understood.
And one of the blogs I'm also going to do is about boosting your internet when you're on the computer all day and you've got to have good Wi-Fi. But anyway, back to the question that I was going to ask is, so for people like me who can apply for the city, our business is not in the city for some reason, we don't qualify for the city. Um, Other than SBA resources, are there any other resources for people, businesses like us?
That's a great question. Right now, of course, as you know, and I want to share this, one of the main criterias that we looked at before we even actually start letting people apply for the full application was that you had to be within the corporate limits of the city of Columbia. And so once people found out they were not within the corporate limits of the city of Columbia, they were asking, well, what about what is my municipality doing, or who do I need to call to in our at our city office to apply for this program? And I have to tell them that this is unique to Columbia. This is something that we actually did ourselves because, again, because of the insight and the preparedness of our leadership to make sure that we had something in place immediately. And we're sharing the information, we're sharing our application with other and our guidelines with other municipalities throughout the state, but we also have gotten inquiries from other states as well, to see they've seen our program and they're using this as a template for what they're doing in their respective areas. One thing that we have been doing, yes, is referring people to our website. There are some resources there that you may be able to tap into not only SBA, but there may be some other resources that are there, some private grants that are being offered through different companies that you may want to look at, as well as the county. The county should have some resources coming out very soon, hopefully next week or the week after. They have actually designated, at the time that I heard about this program, 500,000 for small businesses, and they're using our program as a template. Of course, it's going to be different, but it should be pretty much the same information that we're asking for in our application. So there's money in different areas. Please be patient with your public entities. Everyone's trying to figure out where they can pull money from, but also maintain their normal or operations of business, and making sure first and foremost that our citizens are, as you know, Tameika, are safe and they're healthy, and we're doing all that we can do to make sure that happens as well.
Good, great. So let's talk about well, two more topics I want to talk about before I let you go. Number one, because you do have the experience on that federal level, I know lots of folks have questions, and so like even something I posted yesterday, there was I posted it just for discussion, but it was about the PPP and about whether or not Congress will put any more money in it. And the article talks about how the Democrats are holding it up, and I think even the president has tweeted, the Democrats are holding it up. And from my conversations with Congressman Clyburn and others, it's not that the Democrats are holding it up, but it's basically exactly what we're dealing with right now, is that making sure that there are provisions in the tied to the money, that the folks who really need it are getting it. And not to say that bigger businesses don't need it. We're all hurting, but we want to make sure that smaller businesses who might not have those longstanding banking relationships, quite honestly, small businesses who might not have necessarily the credit. I mean, as we all know, when small businesses, people like me who take everything out of our savings to start our business, you don't have money in the bank, or
you don't have the liquidity that those larger companies have. You're exactly
right.
You're
So it
exactly
takes
right,
some
Tameika.
time. So my thought, or not my thought, I guess my number one discussion is the fact that that we have people in Congress who are fighting for those of us who really, really need the money. And so they know we need it. They're going to come up with something. So there will be money more put in these programs, but they want to make sure that the money is utilized correctly. To that end, though, as someone who's worked on that federal level, who has been a staffer in a congressional office, what do you believe we as small businesses need to be doing to share our stories, our frustrations, our questions with the folks who we send to Washington, Republican or Democrat, making sure that they understand what the reality is here on the ground?
I think the first thing you need to do is be an advocate for yourself, Tameika. You made those calls. You have the relationship with the congressman, but you can still, even if you don't have his number, but a lot of people have his number. Call his office directly. They're still maintaining their offices. Call them. Call them. Call your representative. Call your congressman. Call your senator. And let them know your frustration. Let them know your experience. Let them know your story. Let them know how this has impacted you, how COVID-19 has impacted you, and what your needs are. What your needs are. A lot of people that are in the room that have the ability at least to have advocates in the room on their behalf have the resources. They're the same ones that have actually, unfortunately, been able to um, participate and take advantage of PPP, right? It's just, you have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to be an advocate for yourself. Don't worry about what I don't, they're not going to listen. I'm too small. No, no, no. You're a voter. You're a constituent. You pay taxes. I hope you pay your taxes. If you haven't, something else that we need to talk about, because you have to be prepared also. So just because you want the money, you have to make sure that your information, your business information, your business house is in order. Your finances are correct. You filed all your taxes that you're supposed to file. You paid Social Security. You paid all the different taxes and fees that you're supposed to pay. You cannot think that you're going to be able to have the access and resources that they're making available to you if your business is not in order. you have to make sure your business is in order. But nonetheless, you have to call, you have to be an advocate for yourself, but you also have to make sure that you do what you can do to make sure that your finances are straight, your taxes are paid, so that you can benefit from some of these federal programs. Even some of the other programs, they're still going to ask for tax documentation because they have to show proof of income. They have to show proof of revenue. They have to be able to make projections that you're going to have the ability to pay the money back. But do call, be an advocate for yourself. It does make a difference, and that's why the Democrats and the Republicans is not a partisan issue, because they know these businesses need the money. It's just that one group, and it's Republicans too, they want to make sure that they're being accountable for those dollars and that the money's going to serve the greatest need. So by you calling, you make your story known, you make your voice known, you make your situation known. They have firsthand accounts of what's going on in their respective areas, and that's how they can be better advocates for you, because you don't have an advocate in the room, I promise you, but the people that do are the ones that are getting the resources. So you have to go a little extra, you have to put a little more energy in getting your voice heard, but you can still be heard. Write a letter if you need to. Write a letter to all your representatives. Write the state ones too, state representatives as well. There may be some things that the state can do that we haven't done effectively. Let people know at this point, this is an unprecedented time in our nation's history. A lot of things that we've dealt with in the past, we kind of like had a playbook and how we handle situations, but on both a state and federal level. This is different. That's why you see so many regulations and addendums to the different bills that they're passing, because they're doing it in haste. But the more they understand what's going on in their prospective areas back at home, the more substance they could put to these bills as they're rolled out, and the more adjustments they can make to make sure that the money is going to where it's needed the most, back in their communities, back into the small businesses with 5 or less employees, back into those businesses that have been around for 10 plus years, but also back to those businesses that are doing the right things. They have their finances right. They may not have liquidity, but they paid their bills. They filed their taxes. And this has been just a situation that has really just put them under, and they need help. They need help right away.
Good. And I've got one more topic I want to get addressed. So if anybody has any questions for Melissa, now is the time. Type them in the chat box so that we can get her to answer those before we go off. But one comment I want to make to what you just said, also about the state. Please don't forget your state representatives. The state actually has a huge surplus. Remember, they've been talking for several months about how they were going to pay the surplus, whether they want to pay teachers and do this and do that. Now the state's going to have a lot of needs that they're going to have to talk about, but they also want to talk about how our businesses are going to survive. I know yesterday, Bobby Hitt, our Secretary of Commerce, was talking about the tourism industry, hospitality industry that are going to get a huge hit, but we want to make sure that other industries who are also hurting our small businesses are part of the mix as our state allocates that money. So make sure that y'all reach out. I'm gonna go ahead and call out some people. Representative Todd Rutherford, he is on the Ways and Means Committee. That is a huge committee. They decide budget. So if you know Todd Rutherford, you need to be calling him and saying, these are some of the needs that we have. Senator Mia McLeod, y'all know she has never shy about being a staunch advocate for being out there and talking. Marvin Pendarvis and Marlon Kimpson from the Low Country, both of them have been working really hard to make sure that people who have needs like housing assistance and things like that are thought about in this mix. And so I might try and get one of them on one of these conversations as well to talk about what they're working on. But there are a lot of folks who are at the State House that can be great advocates. So make sure you're been in contact with them. So before we leave, Melissa, and of course, if anybody has any questions, put them in there. Please share this broadcast if you think there are other folks who need to hear what Melissa said. And I put her comment or her contact information in the comments so anybody can get in touch with her. I feel like I'm not centered either. Okay.
It's weird, right?
I know. It's like, oh. So, but before we go, so a couple things. I've been telling people that, whether you're currently a small business, or you're thinking about a small business, this, there's a silver lining in everything. And part of this stay at home time, this quote, slow down time, although it is very stressful for all of us emotionally, financially, everything else. The benefits could be, it can allow you to think about your goals and your plans, and whether or not this is a place for pivoting for you, either in your career, either in changing or pivoting your current business into something different, or say you've always had that entrepreneurial spirit and always had the idea but didn't know what to do and you want to start a business. So for that, I want you to just talk briefly about, what are the things that your business, your office can help people with long term, after this is over. Right now, y'all are dealing with, the immediate small business needs, but you guys are here. You mentioned before, and I wanted to reiterate, talk about the retention and recovery. And one of the things that City Council has been very big on is looking at areas where we have vacant buildings that have been vacant for a long period of time, that could be renovated and be a home to, a barbershop or a beauty shop or a car detailing shop or a nail shop, or, whatever it is that you guys want to start, your seamstress business. And so, there are hot places throughout the city, North Main Street, Millwood Avenue, Two Notch Road. There are a lot of areas that have buildings that could house some businesses. So can you just talk about what resources, if somebody is thinking, hey, during this COVID-19 time, God has laid upon my heart that I'm going to get out there and follow my passion and start my business, but I have no idea where to start. Or say you've been having your little, I hate to use the word side hustle, but you've had your little side hustle, your other stream of income. That's what I call it. I don't call it a side hustle, because everything that we're building is important. And side hustle, I think, to me, denotes that it's not as important as it should be. But say you are, or like a friend of mine, Tara, um, oh gosh, Tara Jackson says you're a dualpreneur. You have, multiple businesses. But if you have a business that has been more of a hobby, but you feel like, okay, this is the time that I need to take it to the next level. What are some of the things that you in your office could help people as they're either starting their business or really trying to look at their business in a more serious way, and take it to the next level?
Thanks, Tamika. There's a couple of things. One thing I do want to say is I still want to talk about right now in the present, and we'll talk about, and I'll also answer your other question about what we actually also provide to help them start that dream business that they're thinking about dreaming and starting. I want to say to people, this is a very stressful, as you mentioned, very stressful time for all of us. We know someone that's been impacted either directly or indirectly by COVID-19. I want to encourage people to stay focused and focus on what you have in front of you, not on what you don't have access to. Focus on what you have control over at this moment. Don't worry about what you don't have at this moment. Let's focus on what you do have and what you do have access to. And one thing that you do have is a city government within the city of Columbia. Even if you're not, we want to be here to help you. We may not be able to actually give you any type of funding assistance, but we do have training and technical assistance that we will be opening up more than likely virtually, so that we can continue to provide the training and technical assistance needed for our small businesses to be successful. That's even our startups after COVID-19. How do you do it? What do you want to make sure you have in place? And even for our existing businesses, we definitely need to do some more trainings and outreach, even though did them in the past. Again, I'm going to talk about it, the structure. What is your legal structure? Understanding your financial statements, understanding the importance of filing your taxes, understanding that if you do the right things, when situations like this avail themselves to us, and we're at the mercy of whoever's able to help us, we have to make sure that we've done our paperwork. We have to make sure that we have our infrastructure sound so that we can take advantage of those opportunities. So one thing that we're going to do after this is over, or even at this during this process, is continue the training and technical assistance. Right now, we're trying to get through getting the funding out right away. but we are going to have some workshops. We definitely need to have some additional workshops and trainings. That's what we do. Um, to make sure that you're prepared for whatever opportunities may avail themselves between now and next year regarding our response to this crisis. So, I would advise a lot of you at this moment to look at your finances, to start asking better questions of your accountants. And if you're doing everything yourself and you found in trying to fill out these applications for SBA or with us, with the City of Columbia or anyone else, that you ran into some roadblocks and maybe you're not the right person to be doing your accounting, maybe you need to hire that out. Let the experts handle that. But there are opportunities, as Tameika mentioned, our commercial redevelopment and reinvestment program is a great opportunity if you're trying to identify or look at some of these vacant buildings where you want to start a business. We have an incentive in 5 points that we were about to launch. If you're out there, we're going to try to move the different move to different areas across the city. But right now, it's because there's so many vacant buildings there. Trying to encourage businesses to either locate there or relocate into that area so that you can take advantage of some of the programs that we have. The CRR program, as I mentioned, you can get up to $15,000 in a forgivable loan for exterior improvements and up to $10,000 for interior improvements, and that's forgivable money. 25,000 per business. $25,000 per business. That's forgivable. Um, but again, you have to make sure you have your paperwork in order. You have to make sure that you have liability and business insurance for your business. But you have to be thorough in whatever you do, even if it's not the city or with whoever you may be trying to get assistance from, the state, the federal. You have to make sure your infrastructure is sound. After this is over, we will also, or even during this process, we do have our commercial revolving loan fund that we have available for our small business community. Again, you have to make sure your information is together and it's ready. Don't be afraid to ask for help. um, at this moment, don't be afraid to ask for help. If you know another business owner or if you need assistance with helping you with your paperwork, we may not be the ones to maybe actually provide the one-on-one technical assistance, but we may know someone. We work with the Small Business Development Center, SBA. They have resources that they can do and conduct meetings with you virtually to walk you through that process. We can help you with that too, but they're there too. They have templates for business plans. They have, direct software that can help you look at the demographics of an area if you're trying to find out the best location for your business. They have a way of helping you identify that spot. It may be you don't need to, if you're in that type of industry for a nail shop, maybe you need to look at another area because right now we're seeing a very large concentration of nail shops in the area that you're looking at. So it may not be financially feasible for you to locate your nail shop there too. You might want to look at, this place over here that's missing that nail shop. So those are some things you have to think about when you're thinking about starting a business, wanting to do something different, stepping out on that faith that you have, that you or that dream that you've been trying to turn into reality for a long time, but there's a lot of work that goes into being a business owner, as Councilwoman Devine will tell you, but it takes commitment. It takes a lot of equity, blood and sweat equity that you have to put into it, and it's not going to be easy. But we do have resources. Call us, we'll connect you, or we'll be the ones to help you with it. And if we can't, we will connect you with the right people. Again, the Small Business Development Center is a free resource, and they have things available to you online. They can walk you through those things, but really, starting a business isn't just seeing a vacant building in an area that you want to be at. There's a lot that goes into making that final decision about where you want to locate. If that's the best location for your business, you need demographic information. You have to do some research to make sure if you locate your business there, you have a market that's going to patronize your business and it's something that's truly needed in the area because there's not a lot of the same similar types of businesses in that area. So that's just a lot of things that you do, but those are some things that we can walk you through and help you with. Again, there's a lot of work that goes into being a business owner, not to scare you because it's great and it's fascinating and it pays off, especially if you're doing something that you love and that you enjoy doing and that you're good at. So we want to help you achieve that success. We're here, but we want to make sure that you have the foundation that you need to be successful as well, which means that you have to make sure that your business house is in order. In terms of your finances, in terms of making sure you're up to date with your taxes, making sure that you understand your financial statements from the basic. Um, but we're here, and we're here to help you.
That, that is so good. And I guess I will end with that. To number one, I'm so grateful to have you guys as a small business owner, taking even the city council woman hat off as a business owner. When I think about the needs that I have as a business owner, again, hate that sometimes I'm in the city that I can't do some of the things that y'all have. But I mean, what you offer is so important. And a lot of folks feel like, oh, I'm in charge, I'm the boss. So I'm just going to handle it, and they don't want to ask for help. And I just want to stress to people that's why this office is here. Yes. I will tell you that I went to school to be a lawyer. I'm a great lawyer. I had to learn how to run a law firm. The same with my other two businesses. I know how to deliver my product and my service, but the keeping the books and the follow up and the lead generation and all that other stuff, I have to get assistance with. I have to reach out and make sure I have that information. So reaching out, it doesn't mean that you don't deserve to be a business owner. It means you do deserve to be a business owner. And in order to be able to set you up in the place to be a successful business owner, you need to avail yourself of these types of resources. So with that said, I didn't get any more questions. So if anybody's watching the replay, do #replay. So I know that you're watching the replay. Give us a question and I'll make sure I get that to Melissa and get you the answer. Also, shout out to all you business owners out there who are still holding down your business, doing what you can in this time of COVID-19. Those of you like me who are also teaching kids and running a household and realizing that you're home every day. So there's all kinds of stuff around the house that you need to do too. My shout out goes out to you because nobody said it was going to be easy, but anything worth having is worth the hard work, and we're putting in the work, and Amen. We're all in it together. Amen. And we're going to get through this together. So with that said, I thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, all that you do, all that you always do. And I've put her contact information in the comments. So please reach out to Melissa at her office if you are an existing business owner who needs some help, if you are thinking about starting a business and need some help, or just want to understand what the Office of Business Opportunities does, please reach out to her. And then if you are not in the city of Columbia, but you're in Richland County or another city, and you want the same type of stuff, to talk to your elected officials and say, hey, you need to call Melissa Lindler over at the city of Columbia because they've got some great things going on over there, and you need to do that for your businesses in your area. We all are going to grow together, and if we're doing similar things, we're going to grow together.
That's right.
So with that said, again, thank you, Melissa. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too.
And I appreciate
you always have your cape on. I'm sorry, your cap. You take your cap off. You have so many different caps that you wear, hats that you wear. But your cape is always in the wind. So thank you for being that superwoman on council that's always looking out for everyone, and also finding time to look out for yourself and your family. So thank you for being the number woman that you are. Thank you.
Thank you. You're sweet. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Catch me back here next Friday. I'm working on 2 or 3 different topics. So I hopefully I will know soon and I'll advertise it. But as long as we're on stay home time, I'm going to try and be here every Friday at 1:00 to bring you more great information for community conversations with Councilwoman Devine. So until next time, see you guys. Thank you, Melissa. Y'all have a great weekend.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.